Hi guys, I'm Dr. Tom Dawson. Welcome and happy birthday, and congratulations for having survived a first pretty tough year. If you're like most of us, after one short year, you can hardly remember not having children, and so a lot of water has run under your bridge already. In the past few checkups, we've talked about what your child is doing and those kind of things, but this time we're going to spend a little more time talking about what your child is thinking. So your little 1-year-old, this last year, they've sat around watching this world and go, wow, this is really cool. And they just watch everything and they soak it all in and they're just amazed at how the world works. But around 1, they start to think, wait a minute, maybe I'm in this world. And maybe the things that I do have an effect on how the world goes and how it changes. So I think I'm going to try some stuff. So they bite, they hit, they kick, they do all those things and then throw screaming tantrums where they're beating their head on the floor to see how that changes the way the world turns. So if I'm in the exam room and a 1-year-old is mad for about coming to the office and they're throwing a tantrum on the exam floor, I will just step over them and continue to talk to the parents in an animated voice. So as the child's beating their head on the floor and screaming and they look up, they kind of say to themselves, he doesn't seem to care. This doesn't seem to be bothering him. This doesn't seem to be changing the way the world works. Now, one time's not enough times to get it done. It takes about 1,000 times of ignoring the undesirable behavior. But eventually, these are smart animals, and they start to think, as they're beating their head on the floor, looking up, and nobody cares, yesterday, when I did that little smile and that cute wink, it seemed to get the world to change in my favor a little better than these tantrums. So I think I'm going to start trying to do that more. So this is what we're trying to do. We're not trying to change their will. That is not ever going to happen, and you really waste your time. What we're trying to do is get them to employ more socially acceptable methods of letting the world know what it is that they want, and to help them to get their own way. So I describe this as, if an adult gets their own way, we call them a smooth operator. If a 1-year-old gets their own way, we call them a brat. And it's because of the methods that they're using. So just remember, you're not trying to change their will. You're trying to teach them socially acceptable methods of letting their wishes be known. So we'll work on that. It's a long process. Probably takes 1,000 times for each thing. While we're talking about shaping their behavior in a desirable way, I have to tell you something that's a little bit tough. The world is really a much better place about teaching good behavior than the home is. Out in the real world, if you're a brat, then the real world ignores you and doesn't include you in their games. And so the real world teaches you to be kind of a good guy, and then you're included in the group and we pay attention to you. Unfortunately, home is a lot trickier. The way home is set up, if your child is being good and playing in the corner, we tend to then sneak away and try to get a few of our adult responsibilities taken care of and essentially ignore them when they're being good. When they start throwing bricks through the window, we stop our adult activities and we go back and pay 100% of attention to them. So the real world includes you when you're being good and ignores you when you're being bad. Home, the natural forces tend to want to ignore them when they're being good, and then we pay attention to them when they're doing the undesirable behaviors. So what I want you to do, even though it's tough, I want you to try to pay attention to them and say, I love it when you play so nicely with your toys when they're being good, even though we're afraid that it'll break the spell. But just remember that when you have small children, that's our primary responsibility. We are not going to be changing the world. And so just accept that when we have small children, it just takes a lot of our time and we're not going to accomplish great things. There's never been anyone who won a Nobel Prize that had small children running around underfoot. So just make this your primary task and don't worry about those things. So how do we more specifically modify other behaviors? One, I think that a 1-year-old is a little bit too young for rules. I will talk about maybe starting some rules at 15 months. The first thing you want to do is perhaps give them choices. Would you rather have peas or carrots, instead of giving them yes, no questions where, do you want your vegetables? where you'll just get a no. We want you to teach them what no means. And so even though they're not ready for rules, if they're doing some undesirable behavior, you can say no and then remove them from that location. It's sort of the remove and distract phase still. I think timeouts are the best way to get your message across because there's nothing a child wants more than to be in your presence. And so removing that even for a minute to a minute and a half is going to be a good way to teach a lesson. We certainly need to employ timeouts if there's things that are either dangerous to them or others, or things that would be painful to them and others. This is how we protect our children, and so discipline is important for that. An occasional slap on the wrist may be a quick and easy way to get our message across. Hitting our children in general is not my favorite choice. If anything, it teaches them to hit others. Have I ever spanked my own child? Yes, one of them. The other one never got into trouble. But did I feel good about that afterwards and feel like that was the best method at that time? And the answer is probably not. So those are the methods I want you to use, and those are the way I want you to think about shaping their behaviors and trying to get them to learn more socially acceptable methods of letting their wishes be known. In terms of food, your 1-year-old's the people now, so they can pretty much eat all people food. Our main goal is going to be avoid choking food still, and have them eat sitting in a high chair so they're not running around while they're eating, which also makes them more likely to choke. They can be on whole milk now. Most children will take, and we'd like for them to take less than 16 ounces of whole milk a day. The milk is not fortified with vitamins the way formula was, and so a liquid multivitamin with iron between now and 18 months is reasonable. By the time they're 18 months, you can usually switch to a children's chewable vitamin, and they taste better and they're a little bit more fun. In the food department, just know that the picky phase is coming, and that peaks around 15 months. So those folks that have had a science project where they eat everything you put in front of them, makes you feel good about yourself, enjoy those times, because those are getting ready to go away for most of you. So we've got a lot going on right now. My recommendation would be to enjoy the process, but this next year, I think I'm going to want you to go to bed a little earlier because you're going to need your energy. So I hope this helps a little bit, and good luck.